Copytraders Club, where you can learn how to make better decisions and more money copy trading. I'm Gavin McCauley, my name and username on eToro. Links to everything, including Discord and Facebook groups, are in the link tree in the show notes. Today, we talk to a PI who is, among many other things, a seasoned podcaster. Here we go. Season 2, Episode 3 of Copytraders Club, and sometimes investing jargon is all Greek to me. So, here to help us before we lose our marbles is Nikos Katsikanis from the ancient city of Glasgow? Many dreams has he had of setting foot in the Copytraders Clubhouse, and here today, those dreams become reality. Nikos, hello. Welcome to Copytraders Club.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here, Gavin.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you. I know you, as something of a fan of the show, know that to get into the inner sanctum, you've got to answer a series of quickfire questions. You ready for those?
Sure.
Username on eToro.
Nikos Katsikanis.
Date you joined eToro.
October 2017.
Date you became a popular investor.
I think it was January 2018.
Year of birth.
1984.
Place of residence.
Austria and Scotland.
Profession.
I'm an entrepreneur.
Briefly state what you aim to achieve on eToro.
An average of 12 to 15% returns most years.
Name one of your investing heroes.
MJ Lux.
Name one of your favourite investing books.
Don't have any.
That completes the formalities. Let's proceed now into the VIP section here at the Clubhouse. The wonderful opulence of the Copytraders Lounge is waiting just for you. Nikos Katsikanis, are you ready for this magical transition?
As long as it's caviar.
So here we are now, Nikos, in the Copytraders Lounge. I know you're a big fan of the show. Tell us how it feels to be sitting here in this hallowed surroundings.
I feel very privileged indeed.
Before we get into it too much, I often try and avoid picking up on any of the answers to quickfire questions. I wonder, is now the time to ask, MJ Lux is your investing hero?
Yeah, I learned quite a lot from him, and I attribute a lot of my success to him, actually.
Well, I'm sure you've heard his episode on the show.
Yes, I have, yeah. I actually followed some of his ideas and some of his investments, and I managed to get on the number one trending list. And that really helped me get off to a good start. And then I think I managed to get on trending again, but that was just due to other decisions I made, my own personal decisions.
Okay, well, we'll come on to all the investing decisions later. For now, let's get to know you a bit. Nikos Katsikanis, with your Scottish accent. You're a guy from Scotland with Greek heritage.
Indeed.
And I knew there was a significant number of Scots with Italian heritage, but before researching for this episode, little did I realise the many links between Scotland and Greece.
Oh, are there?
Unbelievable number of them. Scotland has plenty of links with ancient Greece. Scotland's ancient name, Caledonia, may have come from Caledon, a city in ancient Greece, which experienced migrations to the place that we now call Scotland. And even the current name, they say, comes from the Greek skotos, meaning dark land.
No way. Yeah, that's right. Scotadia. Yeah, that's the word for Greek, for dark. Yeah. Amazing.
And speaking of current names, I also learned that the prefix Mac, as in my name, Macaulay, may have its ancient origins from a group of settlers from Macedonia, the MAC.
Incredible.
Now, there's even a school of thought, and this may be sacrilege to a Scotsman, that suggests that Scottish tartan, kilts, bagpipes, and even haggis may have Greek provenance.
Well, the Greek soldiers' traditional dresses got kilts.
That's what I was going to say. If you look at musicians in traditional Greek attire or anything, they are wearing skirts, and their clothes are often adorned with crisscrossing lines of colour. And they might be playing the ancient Greek instrument, the tsabouna, which are basically the bagpipes. So it turns out Scotland has no culture of its own of which to speak. It's all Greek.
Maybe that's why I turned out so well, my mum and dad's genetics, you know.
And did you come over from ancient Greece, from Macedonia back in the BC era?
We emigrated from Greece when I was 3 years old to Scotland because we couldn't really afford to live there.
Okay, so you are a recent arrival.
Yes, I suppose you could say I'm a Greek. I've been practicing my Scottish accent for 34 years.
You've got it down pat, I have to say.
Thank you very much. I'm very, very honoured indeed. It's absolutely fantastic to be here.
Now, I wonder, are you excited by the revolutions going on in Scotland currently, inspired by another man of Greek heritage?
The revolutions, as in the yes-no out of the UK votes?
No, the revolution inspired by a man of Greek heritage in Glasgow.
What revolution?
In the East End of Glasgow.
I don't know anything about it.
Well, there's a man by the name of Ange Postecoglou.
Okay.
Who is the Celtic manager, and he's doing great things.
Yeah, I don't really know much. I don't really follow football too much. I just know that there's this number 9, and there's like any team is forbidden from reaching number 10 wins in the Premiership, and it's kind of unusual. You know, Celtic were, I think, 9 up, and then Rangers got 9, and then Celtic got 9 again, and Rangers came in and stopped winning it. It's just like you couldn't make this stuff up.
Yeah, well, I think our mutual friend Felix Falix is quaking in his boots at the prospect of another period of extended Celtic dominance.
Is he like a Hibs supporter or something like that, or is he Celtic?
No, he's a Rangers man, albeit even despite the fact that he's from Edinburgh.
That's right. He's got that Gers fan logo on his page. Yeah,
Moody Blue.
That makes sense now. Yeah, I've been to Ibrox once. Good atmosphere.
Well, I've been to Paradise, but I've never been to me.
Paradise, as in Celtic Park.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Anyway, let's move on. Let's get back to you, Nikos. You're a biophysics graduate.
Yes.
Creator of financial software, musician, investor, and podcaster. What's your podcast called?
It was actually 2 podcasts I had. One was called Influencers Cafe, which is just basically being able to talk to anybody. And then there's one that was called Learn With Us, which is a tech podcast. I started with somebody else called Ken Howard. But eventually I didn't have enough time to maintain both of them. So I did the thing that I didn't want to do, is stick my name in a podcast and just call it the Nikos Show. But it just seemed like the most sensible option to do it at the time. So
yeah, so your podcast is called The Nikos Show. I was going to ask you, how did you come up with that name? But
yeah, one of my mentors says, don't call it a show because it's not a show. You're not doing like late shows with Jimmy Fallon and stuff like that. But it can maybe called something else in the future. But you know, it was actually called the Nikos Katsikanis Show. But then it's like, it doesn't run off very well. So just the Nikos Show just sounds better. So.
And let me describe the Nikos Show for the listener in your own words. The Nikos Show delivers your story and expertise to the world. It hosts expert-level conversations with people from various fields, including tech, software, faith, philosophy, engineering, and markets.
That's pretty much it.
Now, I've listened to a couple of episodes. Entertaining ones they were too. What I wanted to ask you about it is, as a podcaster, you're a podcaster with much more experience than I have. I'm very new to the game. But when I listen to experts in podcasting, they're always preaching about certain things like narrowing in on your niche and knowing who your listener is. I imagine it must be difficult for such a wide-ranging show as yours. One thing the experts say is you need to be able to complete this sentence. My podcast is for blank, who blank, and blank.
Yes, most cases that's true.
And I would be able to answer that by saying mine would be for eToro users who copy trade and want to improve. That's what I would say. Of course, that doesn't cover all the listeners, but that's essentially who it's for. How would you complete that sentence for the Nikos show?
The Nikos show is primarily for me to make friends with people, and I do it for my own pleasure. So that's my objective, and I've made a lot of lifelong friends from the podcast. But yes, indeed, when I had these two other podcasts, the one that was growing the quickest was Learn With Us, because it was all tech front end, JavaScript, HTML frameworks. And the other one, Influencers Cafe, was just the listening stats were dreadful. You can only really do a show if you're keen about it, and I have so many interests that I find it boring to focus on one thing and keep doing it. And being able to talk to experts on any field that I'm interested in at the time just makes the podcast more interesting to me and hopefully for the listener, because that's the only way you can really maintain a podcast is if you enjoy doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it is very much, it features all of your interests.
What episodes did you listen to?
Oh, on the spot. I listened to one about podcasting with a podcaster, and one that you sort of mentioned to me, which was about an investor guy from America. Quite a recent episode.
Yeah, there's been a few financial people on there. Maybe it was V, the guerrilla economist, or it was the crypto guy.
Yes, it was him. It was the guerrilla economist. Yeah.
Oh yeah, V. Yeah, he's good at accents, stuff like that.
Yeah, and I found myself thinking, oh, this guy talks a lot of sense. And then half an hour later, I was thinking, this guy's talking a lot of nonsense. When he was on, because he was talking about various subjects, some of which I very much differed with him on.
He is the gorilla, the ape.
So how did I come across you, Nikos? That's the question. Well, the answer is you're a big listener of this podcast, and you're on the Discord group and very participative. And I'm all up for having different types of PIs on. They don't all have to be big names. You're very participative not only on Discord, but also on eToro, which we'll talk about later. Are you on many Discord groups?
Yeah, I actually own a few large Discord servers. I own the unofficial TensorFlow Discord. I own the unofficial Visual Studio Code Discord. I used to own the largest Porsche Discord and Google Cloud Discord, but I gave them away because I just didn't have time to really focus on them. So I gave them away to some people.
So you're an early adopter of Discord, are you?
Oh, yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I can barely work out what I'm doing on it.
I mostly delegate a lot of stuff to people that are interested in supporting the communities that I started.
I need to learn how to do that. Okay, let's get to know you a little bit better, Nikos. If I ask you, what would someone who knows you well say is the most eccentric thing about you?
I'm trying to get into Ukraine when everyone's trying to get out. And I'm paying money for it.
And why is that? Do you want to be a war correspondent?
Yes, because the British government has sort of interesting approaches to international relations with Ukraine. On one hand, they're sending them weapons and giving this whole idea of let's support Ukraine, but their foreign office is charging Ukrainian citizens something like £1,400 to get a visa in the UK, which is completely discriminatory. And it turns out that makes the Ukrainian embassy slap on these fees to people that are trying to go to Ukraine. So I don't know what the British government is playing at.
What's your purpose for going to the Ukraine at the moment?
My wife's Ukrainian, and I've got in-laws there and lots of friends in Ukraine.
In Kiev?
I have some in Kiev, and most of them are in the Transcarpathia region, which is western Ukraine, fortunately, because I don't know what I'd be doing if like my wife's side of the family was in the east. We're close enough to Hungary that Hungary is there, and there's a lot of Hungarian people. It used to be Hungary, actually, so we have the strong president there, Viktor Orban, that would probably come to defend citizens. So we might see borders. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but it's a lot of my thoughts these days, So.
Okay, let's have a question from the art of people. Can you pick a number between 1 and 10?
10.
Same as last week. How would your favorite teacher describe you?
Enthusiastic. That was always a comment that teachers gave to me at school. Apart from French, because I didn't enjoy learning French. they would stay enthusiastic and ask difficult questions. I remember one time the chemistry teacher finished the class and went up to her and says to her, "Hey, Mrs." I can't remember her second name, but I didn't say "Hey, Mrs." That's for sure. And I says, "Where does electrons get his negative charge from?" And she goes something like, "Well, that's somebody thinks you have to ask somebody a lot smarter than me," or something like that. And I used to always, at university, go to the professors and doctors' offices and ask them questions that, about the lessons and just questions I had in general. I really enjoyed university. Beautiful time.
Okay, Nikos, let's move on to your bio, shall we? If I could ask you to read a little bit of that for the listener, perhaps my portfolio and the bullet points beneath, and then we'll discuss.
Sure. My portfolio is a defensive, long-term and blended value and growth portfolio. It's best to copy open trades to get my strategy. I aim for over 12 to 15% risk for. Copy term 12 months or more. This portfolio is designed to be low stress, minimum copy $200, no future deposits planned.
Okay, first question would be, what do you mean it's designed to be low stress?
Low stress for me. The few times that I've been trying to do trading, using leverage and things like that on like shorting the Nasdaq and that, I just really don't like it. It gives me a bad feeling. Pretty much, I try to not have it dominate my mind too much, because that's what happens when you're doing like any day trading. Pretty much, I try to have a mixture of like defensive positions like have dividend companies, PE ratios are in 10, so that even if there are spikes in the market, you have a solid business. And then I've got these gold positions as well, which just kind of like water effect. They make the atmosphere more temperate. And I hold a little bit of cash as well, around 15 to 14% usually, just to have it there for any unnatural dips.
Yeah, I mean, I laugh because it was the same answer as the podcast question. It's low stress for you.
Yeah.
But that is very important for a PI to not be stressed out by what's going on. You do get the impression that some PIs really need to take a chill pill.
A lot of PIs are ready for the upside, but they're not ready for the downside, and so they're all in. I'm not trying to outperform popular investors that are targeting exceeding Nasdaq and this kind of things, because I never will be able to compete with that. I am just happy to make the returns that I've set out, and these will make good returns for myself long term if I manage it. So I'm not under pressure to try and keep up to date with the Nasdaq growth stocks and stuff like that, but I try and participate in it as well.
It's interesting to me that you don't have a benchmark which is expressed as performance relative to an index. What you're just saying is, this is me, I'm doing my thing, I want my wealth to grow over time, and I'm aiming for this kind of annual growth rate.
Yeah, because of the amount of money that I have invested in there, I can live off a lot of that money, that if I make 10, 15% a year, it's going to be good for me. So if people have money to invest and they want to earn those kind of returns, and they don't want a lot of exposure to the potential bubble pop of the Nasdaq, then that's the kind of person that would probably benefit from me. If you want a boring popular investor that's not going to have dramatic returns or dramatic losses, then I suggest copy me.
Okay, well, let's have a quick look at your results, run through them. You have been on eToro since 2017, and a period of only 3 months, 17%, after which point you became a PI, I think you said.
Yes.
And then 2018, minus 27%, 2019, 19%, 2020, 30%, 2021, 17%. Now, as we sort of said, those numbers are you growing your wealth with decent numbers, but they're not market beating.
Yep, that's right.
How do you feel about those results over that period? You're happy with them?
I'm very satisfied with that. If I could make even 10% a year in the next 10, 20 years, I'd be very happy with that. I mean, I suppose if you want to have an index, I would like to maybe try and compete with the world index. But then again, I invest in companies that I think are good business models. I feel like I'm an owner of these companies. So like I have a BMW car, I know the brand well. That's why it's my largest position. I live in Germany and Austria quite a lot of time, so I'm kind of familiar with the companies there. So that's why I've got a lot of Germany in my portfolio. There's some companies that I have that I've kind of like wish I didn't invest in, but I'm kind of stuck with them. So, but I want to kind of make that money back because I think it's going to make it back for my copiers.
Yeah, we'll talk about your individual positions in the next bit. For now, you say 12 to 15% per annum, risk score of 4, and low stress. So we've dealt with low stress, we've dealt with 12 to 15%. How about your risk score? If I look at it just here now, I see average and max between 4 and 5, so and pretty steady. You think your risk score is fair?
Unfortunately, I don't know why eToro doesn't show you a risk score for their whole investment career. I really want them to do that because I think I've only ever hit 6 once, and that was in April 2020. And that would be a lot more transparent, because if somebody has a massive risk score the first 2 years and then they drop down to risk score 3 or 4, you can't see that, frustrating.
But you think 4 or 5 is about right for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Ideally, I'd like to be at 3. I think long term, I'd like to get down to 3 at one point. I was actually risk 3 quite a lot of one of the years. I think it was 2019 or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but I think ideally I'd like to be at risk 3, and that'd be one of my goals long term. But I'd like to maintain the same performance.
Okay, let's talk about copier numbers and assets under management. As of the time of recording, copiers are 103. Assets under management somewhere between 50 and 100K. Your copier graph is a bit of an up and down picture. Max copiers was close to 200 once.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
And now you're kind of holding steady at around the 100 mark.
Yeah, I'm very happy with that. I'm really privileged to have 100 people investing their money with me.
Yeah, it's not a big number compared to some of the other PIs out there. But do you ever see that online where they say this is what 100 people looks like? There's a photograph of 100 people.
100 people is a big responsibility to look after. These are 100 people that I'm looking after their money for them, in a sense. Big commitment.
Absolutely. And where do you feel you are in your PI journey? Do you think you've found your level, or do you still think there's higher profile, greater copier numbers ahead?
I would, to be honest, I'd like to reach maybe 500 at some point, maybe 2023 at some point, or maybe even sooner. But that's I think it's dependent on just making good decisions in this really difficult time right now.
Yeah, but I do think this is a time that represents an opportunity for a lot of PIs to increase their profile, and there could be a changing of the guard. A lot of the people that you might consider to be big names in eToro are having a tough old time and could fade in popularity, while new names are attracting new copiers. I'm not sure that's always a great idea. Some of the new names attracting new copiers might not deserve it, but
I think a lot of these people that are down will bounce back. And I mean, if things don't go to pot with Russia, then a lot of these pop investors exposed to the Nasdaq heavily should be able to overtake me again this year. I think they'll be okay.
But I also get the sense that perhaps this will be, in much the same way as a drop can be healthy for the market, this rotation or the market forces that are at play could be healthy for eToro, in that they could flush out some of the guys who just happened to buy the right 3 or 4 stocks a couple of years ago and have ridden that wave.
I'm not sure that's good for eToro, because a lot of people probably leaving eToro the last few months.
Well, good for us copiers who can separate the wheat from the chaff in the PI pool.
Yeah, I think no matter who you are, if you have your strategy and you believe in it and you're not too rigid in your strategy, then I think you deserve copiers that you have, because nobody can predict the future. So everybody's, in a sense, exposed to the future. And I guess those that have more diversification will be less affected by black swan events, but won't maybe get the high returns that a lot of the the old guard, as you say, have achieved.
Well, indeed, no one can predict the future, but let's consider another future-looking aspect of your portfolio that isn't visible to us when I ask you to tell us a little bit about your watch list. What does it look like?
Watch list, like who I'm watching or the things I'm watching?
Well, you can answer it whatever way you want, but I was looking for what are you watching? What sort of companies are you watching? How big is your watch list?
Now, watch list is about, 5, 10, 20 companies, and most of them are there because I want to see the UK and German companies update. But I've got on their SPX, I've got a few companies that I've heard people talk about that I'll watch for a long time. I had J Nemesis on his Discord talking about Ubiquity, so I've got that on watch list, just kind of keeping an eye on it. I've got Unilever on there. I've got S2.E3, World Index. I've got IAG. I've got Alliance. I've got Nasdaq, BMW, Rheinmetall Defense, Hugo Boss, Greg's, GSK, UK 100, GR40, DJ30, and Virgin Galactic.
Some of those are in your portfolio as well.
Yes, most of them are. And then if I'm interested in getting into a company, I'll probably have on the watch list for a few months, just kind of watching what the price action is doing and maybe dip into it again. I used to have Unilever, but I got out of it and I'm just kind of watching the price action. It's doing some pretty erratic things right now, so I'm not really wanting to get into it just again yet.
Of those companies that you might want to start a position in, do you have price alerts on them?
I can show you my orders if you want. That's probably better for you, right? So I've got market orders open for a few companies. Southwest Airlines, I've got that on at $25. It's currently $45. I've got ADMP at 0.4 cents, currently 0.58. I've got Dogecoin at 0.07. It's currently 0.14. I've got one called XELA at 0.4. It's currently at 0.66. I've got Facebook at 150. And I've got Ethereum again at 2,500. It's currently 2,900. I sold it at about 3,000.
So they're all set for automatic action. So you're not using your watch list to encourage activity per se.
Yeah, watch is just to help me to keep up to date when the market opens in the UK 8 o'clock.
Let's discuss communication. There's a topic that came up in the Discord with you where copiers and PIs were discussing optimum frequency of communication. And you're very active on eToro as you are on Discord. And I got the impression you were wondering if you were being over-communicative.
Yeah, I think that's an issue. My account manager says maybe post less and post larger things, so I'm trying to do that more. I mean, just less work for me, right? But I do like to give my copiers updates on my thought processes. So when I buy something or sell something, then I'll usually just, even if it's just the 1-2 liners, I won't tag anything. I'll say, dear copiers. Maybe I'll throw in a tag there because I think if people are investing money, I mean, they should know what I'm thinking. And a lot of my copiers don't like respond to those kind of messages, but they don't tell me not to stop spamming them. So I'll keep doing it until they tell me to stop. So.
Well, is that the concern that you might be dipping into annoying?
Yeah. I mean, it's less work for me to post less, so it's no problem.
It's definitely, I'd rather have a hyper-communicative PI than an uncommunicative one. That's when the problems really start. Like I say, you're very active, not just on your own feed, but also other people's feeds. What behavior on eToro motivates you to comment?
It's just banter, right? It's like, because we're all working from home and this is like an office to me. So me and MJ, like, we're almost like trading buddies, trading, healthy competition and trying to encourage each other sometimes. And also I've got my own Discord server, I've got some PIs on there and some just people on eToro. And I hang about in Jay's server as well and enjoy talking with him. And also I'm on the Telegram. I don't know why, I get a headache thinking about all the different things I'm doing. This is just one aspect of my life, so...
But you also don't shy away from a bit of a row occasionally.
Oh, yeah. I thought I've got used to combative sports and with people on someone's on the feed, like, I don't know, I like a bit of banter, Scotsman, isn't it? It's like a mini playground sometimes.
But that's really where my question about what behavior on eToro motivates you to comment was aimed at. Like, when do you see behavior that you think needs to be pulled up and called out?
I think there's one guy on recently, and every day he was posting this thing about I announced that now we are able to do this, and like, but every day's a now for him, so it just kind of triggered me a little bit. So if I see something like that, I'll probably just say something, and it'll develop into a big hoo-ha,
He was saying, now we're available to be copied, as if that was news.
Yeah, like every day for the last few months, it triggered me a little bit because it seems like not very honest. But technically, he is correct. Like, I guess I could go on and say, now you can copy me because it is technically true. But by using now, it seems like it's changed state from not being available to just today you're ready,
What, like you're Yeppe Kirk Bond and suddenly you're available to be copied again?
Yeah. I guess Felix has encouraged me a little bit as well, was by him calling things out on his videos.
Let's move on to your portfolio and have a broad brush look at your positions. 73 positions. That's a lot.
Yes, stocks. I'm sorry about that.
Well, don't be sorry. Just justify it in a moment.
Can't justify it, mate. Can't justify it.
Why not?
Because a lot of it's basically taking all those people's ideas that they post about it. That's the trouble. A lot of popular investors and stuff, we talk about all these things on Telegram. We think, Peloton's good and all this stuff, and then you don't go over your core strategies, and then that's basically where I made most of my mistakes, is copying other people's ideas, unfortunately.
Well, surely there's a fine line between copying other people's ideas and getting inspiration from the world around you.
Yeah, that's what I mean, inspiration, yeah.
You see so many of the same names popping up in portfolios all over the place that, of course, we are subject to all of the stimuli that we surround ourselves with. And if you're on eToro a lot and you're looking at other people's portfolios, or you're a PI and you're talking to other PIs, it's only natural that some of the ideas are going to filter into your mind.
Most of those small positions, the ones that are less than 0.5%, that's pretty much inspired by what other people are posting. The ones that are like 3%, 2%, those are the ones that I thought about and waited. So what you'll see is a lot of my larger positions are more kind of recent. That's my own strategy.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me. So there's no shame in having small positions that you heard of through eToro.
Yeah. I'm trying to get rid of them, actually. I mean, you'll probably see, if anyone looks at my trades recently, I've closed a few other positions like Peloton and Athenex, and I closed Ethereum, but that was my own decision. I think Ethereum looks flaky around. It's basically an amplification of the Nasdaq, those crypto coins.
Well, let's stay in the general just for the moment. Percentage allocations: stocks almost 80%, ETFs 15%, crypto 5%. That accounts for 100% of what you have invested, which means you have a cash allocation of 14%. Is that a usual state of affairs?
That's a little bit low, actually. I'd rather have cash around 20, 25, but that's just because I've deployed quite a bit of cash recently as well, the past month or so. Actually, I was down at 7% cash until last week, and then Friday I just got tired of some of the positions I had, like Neo and some of these stocks like going down and down and down. So I've got 65 positions open now.
You've only got 65 positions?
Which is too much. Yeah, too much.
Yes, you're right, 65 positions. So my notes from 3 days ago are out of date on that. So you're a pretty active guy. There's a lot of moving parts.
I'm sort of like an artificial intelligence. I sort of refine my ideas and feedback the loop and then adjust them. And I'm glad you're focusing on where I want to be.
Well, in your bio, it says where you want to be in regards to stocks. It says your main allocations in terms of geographies are US 22%, Germany 15%, UK 15%, China 7%, Canada 4%. Is that a spread that you try to maintain?
Not really, actually. And those are basically companies that I'm interested in and just bought, and it just happens to be that turned out to be the allocation. I never sat down and said to myself, I want 15% in the UK and Germany. That's just what they are at the moment.
But with your frequency of activity, does that stay the same? Or, I mean, do those numbers still apply?
I'd say the last 12 months or so, that's pretty close. And there's always going to be a plus or minus 2%.
And then a softball question would be, what's the benefit in that geographical spread?
Well, the benefit is that a lot of my positions are in low price earnings ratios companies compared to America. America has quite high price earnings ratios right now. So there's a little bit of a pivot back to growth in UK, German growth stocks. I think that's a good opportunity to be in. So it's also diversification, but it's not really, I'm not diversified for the sake of diversification. It's basically companies that I want to be invested in, because of, I think, of the financial benefits for my copiers, myself.
So you're looking for value, and there's better value to be had elsewhere than the States?
Yeah, well, pretty much the Nasdaq's down something like 12% the start of the year, and a lot of my German companies and UK companies are doing okay.
Yeah, let's have a look at your recent performance just to see how you've held up. Like many, you've experienced red November, December, and January.
Yeah.
But the numbers are all quite small. November, 4%. December, under 1%. January, 3 3/4. And green so far in February. So compared to some of the big losses that people have experienced, you think you've ridden the turbulent period with some aplomb?
Yeah, most of my high conviction plays, 2 or 3% above, are actually done quite well. If I didn't have any of those other small positions, I think I'd be doing really well right now. So pretty much my decisions are going to be a lot more focused on what I think is the right thing to hold. Obviously, I'm a Scotsman. I want money back on a lot of those positions that are red. I think my account manager asked me, she says, why are you keeping those positions open? And is this because you want good stats? I says, no, I want my money back.
I always look for desync issues, and it's another question which can be answered by contrasting your larger positions with your smaller ones. Most of the desync, to the extent that it exists, is in the smaller positions, so it's of less significance.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so how about we talk about positions of particular interest? When I was looking at your recent behavior, one company jumped out at me. It's not a big position, but it's quite a recent purchase. Boxlight. It's a small position, under 1%.
Yeah.
Bought on the 20th of December, 2021. And a little bit down since then. Now that share price has dropped from a peak of about $3.60 to somewhere now around $1.20. Very volatile penny stock.
Yes.
Just for the listeners' benefit, Boxlight Corporation, an education technology company, develops, sells, and services interactive classroom solutions for the education market worldwide. Now, Nikos, a bear might say, this is exactly the profile of company that this recent market correction was meant to bring down a peg or two. It's not exactly drowning in profits.
Mm-hmm.
Any growth is not organic, only really by acquisition. It's all about the future story. There's also shareholder dilution because of the acquisition of Sahara. They used their shares as currency as part of the Sahara acquisition. Boxlight's products are expensive. They've unproven market penetration. Basically, it's all talk, and the market got a bit overexcited about Boxlight during COVID, but now it's priced correctly for the unproven, unprofitable, indebted, speculative business that it is. Would such a bear give you pause?
Yeah, I think that a lot of these smaller plays of mine, I've not done my research on it, and unfortunately, that's where I've lost most of my money, and it's put me off these kind of investments in the future. But Boxlight, I did make quite a lot of money going up, and I managed to sell. I've been in and out of Boxlight 10 times, and I made quite a bit of money on it before when it was up really high, and I've sort of dipped myself in it a little bit. It drops down, I sell it and buy it in lower, and so I like the way the technology works. It's got these lasers. It's got good integration with Windows software. I think it could be useful for I think it's some UK partners, with those televisions. I think they're innovating quite well, so hopefully it'll turn around.
Yeah, hopefully it'll turn around. Yeah, well, the bull case is that all these acquisitions will make them the consolidated dominant player in this fragmented market that's ripe for modern replacement solutions. I mean, I'm not a bear on it myself, but I'd like to see them just executing and running the business. And, all these acquisitions kind of muddy the water in so many different ways. It's hard to get a very clear picture of how well they're doing naturally.
Yeah, but I mean, it's much better than chalkboard or like whiteboard. I mean, if anyone has an iPad and they use it for taking notes, it's completely different from just having pen and paper. And even artists are moving to like iPads, so you've got this whole whiteboard and you can do all this dynamic stuff with it. It just seems like a natural evolution of education.
Yeah, I mean, education hasn't changed since, our parents were kids. Or maybe beyond, the teacher up at the front of the classroom at the blackboard. Things have hardly changed since then. So I agree it's ripe for major disruption and worldwide and all that. Question is whether Boxlight are going to be market leaders.
Yeah, it's a good question. I wish eToro had more information on like price earnings and stuff. Sometimes some of these stocks, they don't have price earnings ratio on there and you have to sort of look around elsewhere. And I mean, like I say, I have too many positions open. I can't keep track of everything as much as I'd like.
First time I heard of Boxlight was Marcin Jasinski, MJ Lux, your buddy.
Yes, same here. Yep. We have lots of conversations as well. It's very entertaining. We sort of have our own complaints that we moan about the market with each other and sort of pat each other on the back and encourage each other sometimes.
Does he not complain about your laid-back appearance?
Yeah, no, he keeps telling me to iron on my shirt and polish my shoes. He calls me a scruff bucket.
Well, because I'm watching you now and you look like you could do with a shave. You're in a hoodie, whereas Marcin's probably wearing a cravat or a bow tie or something. And
yeah, if I meet in person, I need to wear a shirt or something like that, or I feel like I'm bringing down his aura. I mean, I'm a techie, so I'm pretty much go around cafes and I'm developing software and stuff like that. So it's kind of natural attire. People wouldn't take me as a serious techie if I was wearing a shirt and tie all the time.
Well, if he invites you for a brandy at the tennis club, you're going to have to smarten up.
I don't know. I've got a few polo shirts, Hugo Boss shoes and stuff like that.
Well, invest in what you know. Let's talk about what moves you've made in the past few months then in response to the market's shift in sentiment. I was just having a little look. On the 13th of December, you bought TLT, the long-term treasury bonds ETF.
Yes.
And that was a big position, your third biggest position at over 5%. What was your thinking there?
Yeah, it's basically a cash position, but just getting a little bit of return, hopefully, with the coupons and that. It's a bit more volatile than I'd like it to be.
Yeah, it's down 8.29%. I thought bonds were supposed to do well when stocks went down. What's going on?
This was more an instinctive position by me, if that makes sense. I just want exposure to the yields from the bonds. It feels better than having that in cash. I guess I also was studying for my level 3 exam, reading a lot about bonds in that market, and I just thought, I mean, even Felix he has TLT, I think.
You're studying for your CISI level 3 at the moment?
Yeah, I actually I've cancelled the exam twice just because I was really busy as well in other parts of my life, my web development, app development. I was almost ready to take it, but I wasn't seeing the anywhere near the stats to get to elite, so I thought I'd just keep delaying it.
Is it through eToro?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I thought they would only sort of encourage people to do that if they were approaching elite status.
Yeah, I thought I was going to get to elite actually sooner, and then my copiers dropped off. So I put in an exam and then I delayed it.
And how's the studying going for that?
Yeah, it was pretty hard actually. I mean, it's been a long time since I've been at university. It's tough. It's not an easy exam. Even the level 3 one, even that is quite mathematical. Yeah, that's why you see some people that are Red Star and they have like 2,000 copiers. It's a big investment of time. I don't know how people get time to do it Black Star if they're not studying it full time, So. But there's some stuff in there that's like, I don't really didn't find very interesting. There's a lot of stuff about life insurance. But yeah, it does make a more rounded investor, I think. So it's good by eToro that are doing it. I learned a lot about the bond market from studying those exams and just diversification strategies. So it's overall a good idea by eToro.
And you're learning it all from a textbook?
Yeah, it's a PDF actually, or an ebook that you use.
There's no other sources online?
They send you it once you pay for the exam.
No, but I mean, there's not like videos and interactive stuff.
They've got these sort of tests that you can do that are quite helpful. They've got like 100 questions that you can do a practice exam. That's actually quite an interesting way to learn. So you can basically, when I first started reading it, I was going through page by page, but it just got so boring. Like I was stuck in one section about financial institutions and all this stuff and all these insurance institutions and security for the markets and regulations. And it was boring me to tears. So I basically skipped to different chapters and I was reading like 4 or 5 different threads at once.
And so when is your exam coming up? Have you got a date?
I need to set it again. Not yet, no.
Related again?
If I start getting a bunch of copiers, then I'll probably make it higher up my priority list. But I have like quite a large to-do list. I have things that are urgent and I have things that are important. And that's about it.
Well, I'm sure after having had a Copytraders Club appearance, your copier numbers are going to shoot through the roof.
Maybe. I have no idea. I'm interested to see what happens.
Well, I was interested to see what happened recently with you and your portfolio. Let's talk about all the activity that you undertook, or perhaps not all of it, but some of the highlights. In December/January, you bought the following companies. And I will also mention their performance up to a few days ago when I made my notes.
Sure.
American Airlines up 24%. International Consolidated Airlines up 34%. Cineworld up 28%. Ethereum up 35%. Tesla up 5%. Greg's, your new position, is down 20%. Ford down 25%. So talk us through how you approach this whole response.
Yeah, so let's talk about the bad ones. So Greg's and Ford, those are ones that I made about 100% on through the end of 2020, 21. And I basically wanted to keep those things long term, but I felt that I was overextended in a rally. And then my intuition, my gut feeling told me just to sell them. So I sold Ford at like a really high price and I sold Greg at a high price. And then it sort of started to keep going up. And it basically FOMOed back in again with about a third of what I had invested originally. And I should have just stuck with my intuition because I think Jane Emmis has opened a massive position in Ford. And I'm like, why did I sell that? I wanted to get back in again. And then it started dropping. Same with Greg's. Greg's, I liked holding that because I love the products. And then when I got rid of it in my portfolio, I'm like, I miss having that in my portfolio. I miss walking by Greg's and smelling the sausage rolls and thinking, I want a piece of this company. But then I just bought it on the way down and stuff. But the other ones, yeah, basically long-term value plays, undervalued stocks that I would have liked to have held 2019, but just they were too expensive. So I got in IAG. I've been in and out of IAG actually, but this is really low levels, and a lot of the travel restrictions are getting reduced. So IAG got that in. Got a large position, high conviction play. Cineworld, bit of a risk because of the court case, but I still, believe that people like going out to the cinema to experience it, and so I got into that again, even though it's a bit risky. And the other one. And American Airlines, yeah, I had that on $15, something like that for months on end. And then when it dropped down to, I think it was PE 5, and then it got hit, and it just was flying up.
And then when I look at what you closed quite a few positions in December that you mentioned earlier. You trimmed some others. You bought and sold the VIX to pretty good effect. And you had a series of quick buy and sell positions on the NASDAQ with mixed results. And you say you didn't like that. It wasn't you. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I don't really enjoy it because when I'm sitting like Friday night, last Thursday I did really good on the VIX and the Nasdaq. I got it down and up, made about several $100s for the portfolio, and then about 8 o'clock on Friday night, I just saw the market doing some crazy stuff with the whole Russia thing. I just thought I just think they're overreacting, but after an hour of sitting looking at a minute chart, it just drains you. So eventually, I just closed them both and says, "Nah, don't like doing this." But I mean, sometimes I will do it now and again, but I'll be watching the screen like a hawk and really, really close stop losses. You won't see minus 40% plays on those ones, and I'm pretty much a long-term investor, but sometimes I dabble in some of the indices if I can just milk a little bit more profit out and some irrational movements in the market.
Yeah, so it strikes me you see yourself at heart as a value investor. You're looking for the best deals you can in the best geographies. You're looking for decent companies.
Yeah.
But you're also kind of more active than you wish you were. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think I spend too much time on eToro for being a value investor. I think I'm getting better at that because I do have some more things I'm doing in life. I'm actually developing a social network, but I don't tend to invest in these things that much. I don't really invest in tech. I'm mostly in manufacturing. I don't know. I don't know why it is actually. I haven't really thought about it. Maybe I just know the ins and outs of tech companies a little bit.
Yeah, Wesley was talking about how some of the mistakes he might have made last year included, since he became a full-time investor, he was just doing too much. He sort of felt the impetus within himself to be active. So you should probably keep doing other things in life.
Yeah, I think that when I try and massage a portfolio, sometimes the worse I do. So like those getting back into Greg's and Ford, I should just have closed them and been happy with it. But sometimes I get a little bit of FOMO. Like I've closed Neo. On Friday I closed Neo. I closed Athenex. And I'll be watching these today. Like I'll be hoping it doesn't go up fast. Otherwise I'll be raging.
Well, will you? I mean, that's not healthy.
Yeah, it's not healthy. And I do spend too much time looking at the markets, unfortunately. Yeah.
When you close out of a position, the best thing to do is not go near it again. Don't even educate yourself about what it's doing.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's too much blood pressure for that.
You're only going to torture yourself if it starts doing what you didn't want it to do.
Yeah, I know. If Neo jumps 100%, I'll be raging with market open. But then again, if it goes down, I'll be happy. But then that's the trouble is it's quite, when you're short in the market, it's a kind of really bad place to be mentally because you're wanting the world to be in pain, and that's why I don't really like getting to shorts that much, even though I'll do short it sometimes if I think it's going to make us some money, and I don't feel good about it because like you're wanting the world to have bad news. It's like really, really nasty place to be mentally, so. But that's not to say that I won't go in there and hedge sometimes. One thing I'm trying to avoid doing is trying to compare myself too much. Like there's pictures of popular investors and like dogs going around sniffing other dogs. That's what a lot of time popular investors seem to do, and I'm trying to get away from doing that myself. I don't really have many people on my watch list. I'm trying not to look at other people's performance that much because it's too competitive, It's just not a good place to be mentally. I think that we should all just focus on our own strategies and not worry about how people are doing.
Okay, so we spent a lot of time talking about you, Nikos. How about your copiers? What sort of profile of person should copy Nikos Katsikanis?
I think people that have money that they want to have better returns than just say sticking in a bond or at CISI. They've got money that they want to be relatively secure. They don't want to have massive dips with the market, and they're willing to give that up for, in a sense, less performance as some of those very US tech-heavy stocks. So it's people that want reasonable returns. I've got a similar kind of aspirations like Warren Buffett had with his performance, even though I don't think that'll make that his performance. But in that 10%, if 10% or 15% of your money back a year is good for your, capital gains free allowance, then that's pretty much where my target is. For UK investors, that is. Other countries might have different capital gains free allowance.
And what sort of people do you think shouldn't copy you?
Yeah, if you're wanting, let's say you're a really young investor and you want to basically double your money in a year, you're not going to get that with me. If you want to, say, in 5 years have maybe 25 to 50% your money returned, then that would be a better investor. Maybe they're investor in the age between, I don't know, 30 to 40 to 50. I'm too risky for people that are maybe in their 60s or 70s, and I won't have the high enough returns for people that just have maybe smaller amounts of money to invest in their teens or 20s, because you won't get that growth with me.
Okay, so to all those 60 and 70-year-old copy traders out there, this might not be one for you.
Yeah, they basically wanting bonds and fixed income because they don't want to. Maybe they do want it. I mean, I'm not sure, but I mean, I think between the upper 20s to lower 50s maybe better.
I was just being flippant because I don't picture that there's too many copy traders who are septuagenarians, but I could be wrong. The way you describe people who should copy you, is that the kind of profile of demographic that you see in your current copier base?
Well, I mean, a lot of people are private, so I don't have like pictures of them, but I think the age range I'm seeing is actually probably the ones that I do see are like probably in their 40s and 50s. So I seem to be attracting kind of mostly the target age range, I think.
Interesting. And are there any people that copy only you?
There are a few people that basically only copy me, yeah. And I've got them all on my bookmarks, and I check them now and again, and sometimes I send them messages saying, thanks for staying with me,
And what sort of relationship do you have with these people?
They pretty much they like to keep to themselves. I mean, I do have a Discord server that I used to advertise, but I don't think eToro likes you do that. But yeah, sometimes they contact me and I'll respond to them. So, but they pretty much keep to themselves. Very, very low maintenance. But I mean, I'm happy for them to join my Discord server. But I don't know how to communicate that without getting into trouble.
Well, everybody else seems to.
Yeah, but I think I'm in Jay's server as well. He doesn't really have a. I guess he has an Ask Jay thing, but my Discord server isn't really about me. It's called Noble Investors. So, I mean, I have a channel for me, but I also have a channel for other popular investors as well. Actually, in my Discord server, it's called Noble Investors, and I'm the king, and I've got my lords there and noble knights and stuff like that. It's kind of a meme server. Some people think it's serious. They're like, he calls himself Nikos in his Discord server, his ego, But I'm just sort of reverse trolling them by having this sort of meme king thing on the Discord thing going.
So there's a whole bunch of separate different PIs on that server. Is that right?
Yeah, it's right, yeah.
And yours is open to all comers?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Okay, well, send me the link and I'll add it in the show notes.
All right, cool.
Okay, getting back to your copiers then. What role should you play as a PI in someone's copy portfolio? And can you describe what you think the ideal portfolio would look like with you in it?
I think that if people want like just something that's balanced and not going to do anything too dramatic, my portfolio complements other popular investors a little bit. So I wouldn't say like, you're welcome to put 100% in me if you want, but I don't recommend that. Maybe 20% or 25% would be a large position in me. But just if you've got a few tech-heavy popular investors that you copy, you want someone's a bit more wired to the world indices. They've got exposure to US, but also they live in Europe and they've watched the markets in Europe, then that would be a good fit.
So you're uncorrelated to many of the other high-profile PIs out there that people might already be copying?
I think actually I'm correlated because when the markets are good, I'll do good but not as good as other popular investors in good markets. I'll do bad but not as bad as other popular investors on bad markets. So neither spectacularly good or spectacularly bad.
So if you were a copy trader, is that what your approach would be? Or what do you think you would do if you weren't a PI at all? And you were copy trading.
Yeah, I only ever copied one person, and that was Mr. Thor. I don't know if you remember him. He made me about $1,000 when he was riding crypto all the way up, and then I closed the copy at its peak, and then I, for some reason, went back and copied them again, and he lost most of it when he started shorting the indices for about a year. And that's the story. He's still got a YouTube channel. There's quite interesting videos there. I'd hope it'd be good if he came back to eToro. We'd be doing really well right now the last few months.
Well, if you were to advise your little sister or something who wanted to, your imaginary little sister perhaps, who wanted to be a copy trader, how would you say would be a good way to proceed?
Yeah, I would say, of course, copy me a little bit. Maybe put 25% in me, or 50%. Put 20% into MJ Lux. I mean, I know MJ Lux strategy, so like that's why I think he's ready to go really high, because he's been so beaten down, his growth stocks, that if the market does turn, he could make 200% in a year or something like that. So that's why I buy the dip. And then probably some other uncorrelated person, but I don't know who that would be yet. Maybe Jeppy or Fund Manager Zek. I know they're really impressive performance. I know Jeppy's had a hard 4 months recently. Fund Manager Zek doing tremendous. Mr. G, I'd be tempted, but I'm not sure how good he'll do if the dice gets rolled the wrong way a few times. But yeah, I mean, there's a few up and coming people that I've seen that are doing, like, if people are keeping positive the last 4 months, then that's pretty much, and they've got a track record and still managing to stay positive, then that's somebody to watch. I'm not sure how many people are around that, because most of the popular investors have had for past 4 months.
Well, you keep mentioning your buddy MJ Lux, so I wonder, do I already know the answer to this question? What other PI would you say you know best on a personal level?
Yeah, MJ Lux.
And yet you haven't met in real life?
I made a lot of money from that bull market, and then in 2020, and then I picked one of the stocks that he talked about, Transatlantics, and that took an already good year up to like crazy returns, and then I was number one trending, so I can't deny that he's helped me to get up there. And if I didn't have that number one trending, I don't know if I'd be in the position I am today with 100 copiers.
But you haven't met him in person yet?
No, probably soon though.
You've never been in the physical presence of another popular investor?
That's right, never have been, no.
I always find that quite
Have
sad.
you?
No, I haven't. I haven't. But I've spoken to lots of them. I've done this with quite a few, you know. Okay, final question, Nikos. I think you know what it is.
What is it?
If you were in my shoes, what question would you like to have asked yourself that I didn't?
Ask me about my social network I'm making.
Consider yourself asked.
Well, basically, I can't really tell too much right now, because probably app developers are still listening to this podcast, you know, and they have money to invest. But I am trying to make a solution to fix loneliness in terms of remote working, and that's pretty much trying to fix loneliness amongst professionals. But it's not a dating app. Definitely not a dating app.
Well, I've developed that already. It's called Copytraders Club.
Yeah, absolutely.
I get to talk to an interesting person once a week.
Yeah.
To fix loneliness. I'm trying to think, how do I wrap it up on a high note after talking about loneliness? Well, thank you for pulling me out of the depths of my lonely despair tonight. Well, that sounds very exciting, and it sounds like you have loads of things going on in your life. Many and varied interests, and it's been very interesting to chat to you tonight, Nikos. It's been lots of fun.
Yeah, it's been great, Gavin. We appreciate it.
And we look forward to seeing how you get on in the future. I want to see those copier numbers rise and rise as the months of 2022 tick by.
Boring investing with Nikos Katsikanis there. That'll really get people into the copying. AverageReturns.com.
All right, fantastic, Nikos. Well, all the best to you, and thanks for being here today.
Thank you, sir.
Nikos Katsikanis there, listener. If you want to check out The Nikos Show or the Noble Investors Discord, links are in the show notes. That's all from me. See you on our Discord and Facebook. Until next time we meet at Copytraders Club, I wish you many happy returns. Obviously, anything you hear in this podcast is for entertainment only, not financial advice. Do your own research. This is just generic chit-chat. We don't know your individual circumstances, etc., and so forth.